Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. New Zealand keen on getting the Indian instant payment system, signs a pact for more flights to and from India. After the coup in Niger, now the military in the Central African nation of Gabon says it has seized power.
With the defense and security forces meeting within the Committee for the Transition and Restoration of Institutions, CTRI, on behalf of the Gabonese people and guarantor of the protection of institutions, have decided to defend peace by putting an end to the current regime.
Hurricane Idalia on the brink of slamming the U.S. state of Florida. Mandatory evacuation orders issued in some parts of the state. And India's Chandrayaan-3 detects sulphur and traces of other elements on the moon. The hunt continues for hydrogen. It's about to get easier to travel between India and New Zealand, with the two countries agreeing to introduce more flights between them. India's Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia and New Zealand's Minister for Trade, Export and Agriculture Damien O'Connor held talks in New Delhi on Tuesday before signing a memorandum of understanding to boost cooperation in civil aviation. The agreement allows a designated New Zealand airline to operate any number of flights from 6 points in India, including all major metro cities. Similarly, India can operate flights from Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch and 3 more points in New Zealand. India's Civil Aviation Minister says it's a big day for the two countries.
We signed an MoU that has opened up the possibilities of furthering of air transport between our two countries. The open sky policy has been put in place. Points of call from India have also been increased to 6 between both countries, covering major metros, Bombay, Delhi, Bengaluru, Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata.
A 50-strong delegation of New Zealand business leaders is gathering in New Delhi on Wednesday. The India-New Zealand Business Council Summit aims to further foster the relationship between policy and business figures. Investment opportunities, technical and economic cooperation will be top of the agenda, with insights from both New Zealand and Indian companies on the present and future of trade between the two nations. Right, Akshay Dongre joins me from New Delhi. Akshay, what are some of the issues that would be discussed at this business summit?
Well, there are a range of issues that are to be discussed and that have been discussed as far as this 3-day summit is concerned. It started on 27th of August and today is the final day. The summit timings are from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. and a range of business leaders, chief executive officers and in fact leaders from the local governments as well. Mayors have come here in the national capital of India to discuss further deepening of Indo-New Zealand ties as far as trade is concerned, as far as people-to-people contacts are concerned, as far as more investment both in New Zealand from the Indian sides and in India from the New Zealand side are concerned. Sharing of technology is one of the hot topics that has to be discussed, including some of the best technologies of India, some of the best technologies that are being used in New Zealand. There is trade that is to be discussed because most of the leaders who have come here are from the business world. They are bringing their business practices, they are bringing their experiences and expertise in a range of topics and they expect to share with the business leaders who are discussing inside the venue and are sharing all of these details with each other to further boost trade between the two nations.
Also, Akshay, besides a civil aviation pact, New Zealand has shown interest in Indian instant payment system called the UPI. What can you tell us about direct flights to and from India and also digital public goods?
Well, to understand what has changed, we have to understand what was there between India and New Zealand. So earlier there was only one point that was operational as far as India-New Zealand aviation sector is concerned. But yesterday, as the Union Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia signed the open air policy with New Zealand, the biggest change that will take place in the years to come, and that has started after the signing of MoU, is that now there will be 6 points as far as the usage of the New Zealand flights using any kind of route, any kind of aircraft. They can actually operate in India from 6 points that include all the metro cities, including New Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, and other cities as well. Similarly, India will be using more entry points, exit points from New Zealand. This is one of the changes perhaps that was required the most as far as further deepening of relations and trade between these two countries are concerned. And it's not just about the civil aviation; it is similarly for the cargo operations as well, that the airlines from both these countries will be using these entry and exit points. And as far as UPI is concerned, yes, that is one of the beaming pride of India as far as the usage of UPI is there. It has spread to each and every corner of the country. Now it's not just the big businesses, but small shopkeepers, small vegetable sellers that are using UPI prominently. That has in fact overtaken money in many shops across the country as far as the money transaction, financial transactions are concerned. And that is something that has become an example for the world, and that is where the New Zealand government as well as business leaders are interested in and are planning to adopt similar practices as far as transaction of money is concerned.
Indeed. On that note, Akshay, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Moving on, India's lunar mission Chandrayaan-3 has confirmed the presence of sulphur on the moon's surface. The rover has also detected traces of aluminium, calcium and iron. The hunt for hydrogen is still on. India's space agency ISRO said on Tuesday that the rover has conducted experiments on the moon's surface and is returning and relaying the test results back to the Indian space agency ISRO. Now, after a successful lunar landing, ISRO now has its sights on the sun. The space agency shared images of the launch vehicle carrying spacecraft Aditya L1 to the second launch pad. It's preparing for takeoff at 11:50 a.m. India time. That's 0620 GMT on 2nd September. ISRO says the launch will be the first Indian mission to study the moon and the sun. Now, Aisha Khanam joins me from Bengaluru. Aisha, let me start with India's moon mission. The Chandrayaan-3 is conducting certain experiments on the moon. What do the results tell us about the moon itself?
Well, it is a huge breakthrough, Ramesh. Now, India has managed to detect that there is a presence of sulphur on the surface of the moon, and this means that essentially sulphur could support life on moon. And earlier, the missions conducted by India, Chandrayaan-1 had detected ice on the surface of the moon, and now detecting the fact that there is a presence of sulphur. It shows that there is a sign of life somewhere, because sulphur is an essential element which supports formation of proteins and amino acids, and this also ultimately leads to formation of DNAs in a human life. And sulphur is also an important element for plants to grow. So these are the signs that which show that there could be a life, or it supports life on the surface of the moon. So this is a very important breakthrough that ISRO scientists have achieved with the CH3, which is with Chandrayaan-3, and this could result to further study and analysis of the soil data that will be collected by a rover, and also also
Okay.
Vikram lander.
Right.
And this will ultimately lead to exchange of details and knowledge between
also,
the scientists
coming
across
to
the other
India's
countries.
solar mission now. All eyes on Aditya L1's launch. What are ISRO's aims and objectives from it?
Well, this is a huge mission for ISRO as such, and also for the international scientific community, because this mission is going to focus on studying the corona and also the solar flares and solar winds inside the moon surface. And remember, this mission, Aditya mission, will be as close as 1.5 million kilometers to the moon. And this is a very convenient point from where the study can be conducted to detect how the solar flares and how the solar winds affect the entire atmosphere in the space as such. And this is important to study because the electromagnetic field changes on Earth every 11 years. And with the study of this, it will be easy for the scientists to decipher why this happens. And since electromagnetic field is important in every aspect, be it medical, be it scientific research. So this is an important study that ISRO will conduct, and this will also be an important observation for scientific community across the world.
Aisha Khanam in Bengaluru, thank you. Now get ready for an extraordinary celestial occurrence. A rare super blue moon is set to grace the night skies on Wednesday. Supermoon, which makes the moon appear slighter, bigger and brighter, is the second supermoon to appear this August. There won't be another occurrence until 2037. Now, sky watchers across the globe can witness this rare phenomenon just after sunset, and people can also witness this event early morning of 31st August. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Now, a coup in Gabon, the Central African country's military seizes power days after President Ali Bongo wins re-election. The US vows to back Ukraine in its war with Russia as it announces a further $250 million military assistance package for the country. And the President, Vice President and Prime Minister of India lead the nation in celebrating the festival of Raksha Bandhan.
Welcome to Chandigarh.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. After Niger, the military in the Central African country of Gabon says it has seized power. Now, this comes after Gabon's President Ali Bongo, who has been in power for 14 years, was re-elected for a third term. A group of Gabon's top military officers have gone on national television to announce the annulment of elections and dissolution of institutions. They said that the military have taken over the power because the recent elections were not credible.
Août 2023.
On this day, August 30, 2023, we, the Defense and Security Forces, meeting within the Committee for the Transition and Restoration of Institutions, CTRI, on behalf of the Gabonese people and guarantor of the protection of institutions, have decided to defend peace by putting an end to the current regime. The general elections of August 26, 2023, as well as the truncated results, are cancelled. The borders are closed until further notice. All institutions of the Republic are dissolved.
The European Union says it will discuss the situation in Gabon as it is a big issue for Europe.
Whole area, starting with Central African Republic, then Mali, then Burkina Faso, now Niger, maybe Gabon. It's in a very difficult situation, and certainly the ministers, today defense ministers and tomorrow foreign affairs ministers, have to have a deep thought on what is going on there and how we can improve our policy with respect to these countries. This is a big issue for Europe.
So that's the big news we are tracking here on DD India News Hour at this time. The news coming out of Africa after Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. Now a military coup has taken place in Gabon. Gabon is in Central Africa. And this comes after Gabon's President Ali Bongo has just won re-election. He's been in power for 14 years. The military says that the institutions have been annulled, and these election results are not credible. So that's the reason they're forwarding for the military coup in Gabon as we speak. We'll try to get you more from the ground in Gabon in just a bit. But that's the news we're tracking here on DD India News Hour, that after Niger, the military in the Central African nation of Gabon says it has seized power. The military rulers appear on national TV to say that they are seizing power from President Ali Bongo, who has just won re-election. He's been in power for 14 years now, and the military says that the situation is untenable and that the elections were not credible. Right, we'll get you the latest from the ground in Gabon in just a bit. We'll try to connect with my colleague, but I'm told we have lost that link with him. We'll try to get back to the story when we can on this broadcast. Moving on for now, UK's Foreign Minister James Cleverly met China's Vice President Han Zheng in a first such visit in 5 years. In the meeting, Cleverly stressed that face-to-face exchanges would help the UK and China to avoid misunderstandings. The UK Foreign Minister will also hold talks with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi later on Wednesday. The UK's proactive efforts to mend ties with China reflect a bid to restore relations that had plummeted during former Prime Minister Boris Johnson's tenure.
Countries like ours meet and speak face-to-face on regular occasions to enhance understanding, to avoid misunderstanding, and to address the challenges and differences of opinion that all countries have in bilateral relations, but also to take advantage of our shared endeavours to address the issues.
US Commerce Minister Gina Raimondo is wrapping up a 4-day visit to China. Her trip is widely thought to have been an opportunity to mend ties between the two countries. Washington, D.C. is hoping to address Beijing's reluctance to engage in meaningful initiatives and U.S. businesses' concerns over investing in China. DD India correspondent Andrew Wood reports from Hong Kong.
Raimondo is the 4th senior American politician to visit China in the past couple of months, including people like the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, and the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. And she was actually invited by the Chinese rather than suggesting that it might be a good idea as she visited. So, there is this attempt to try to improve relations, but there's still, there's such a lack of understanding over, I think, over things like restrictions on technology exports from America to China, and that they still will probably be at loggerheads over that. And the Commerce Department, which Ms. Raimondo heads, is in charge of implementing those restrictions. Still, it's probably better for them to be talking than not talking at the moment. It's the last day of the trip. Last night, Ms. Raimondo went from Beijing to Shanghai on a high-speed train, and she'll be leaving later today. Well, so far at the beginning, China was quite friendly. Then I think things got a little bit tighter, as it were, more focused perhaps yesterday after Ms. Raimondo met the Premier of China, and he said that it was good for America and China to have better relations. I haven't seen any reaction yet to Ms. Raimondo's statement that American companies were finding China uninvestable, but I'm sure the Chinese will want to say something about that.
President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey is all set to visit Russia to discuss the lapsed Black Sea grain initiative with Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to Turkish media, Erdogan's visit will focus on the looming food crisis by aiming to revive the Black Sea grain deal. Erdogan and Putin will meet in the Russian Black Sea resort city of Sochi. The Black Sea grain initiative had been brokered between Russia and Ukraine in July 2022. It expired on 17th July this year after Moscow quit the agreement. A drone attack on the city of Pskov in northwestern Russia has damaged 4 heavy transport planes. The video showed smoke and fire rising from a distance after the huge explosion, but no injuries were reported. Russian media says 4 transport planes were damaged on the military airfield. The local governor says the military was repelling the attack. Ukraine has not confirmed its involvement in the incident. And Dasha Chernysheva now joins me from Moscow. Dasha, how has Russia responded to the latest attack, and has Ukraine claimed responsibility for it?
Well, indeed, overnight we have seen a series of drone attacks almost simultaneously against several Russian regions. About 7 of them have been attacked. It's not just the Pskov region, which is to the northwest of Russia, by the state border of the country, where an airfield has been hit by drones, hitting and setting on fire several military transport planes, Il-76, but also in other regions across the country. Moscow region was also targeted. We understand a drone was downed in the Ruza district of the Moscow region. Bryansk region has come under the attack by the Ukrainian drones several times, with the building of the investigative committee apparently being hit in the area as well. So certainly Russia has seen the largest attack by the Ukrainian drones over the course of the past time this night. We also understand that air traffic has been halted at Pskov and has not been restored to the moment. And the Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova has commented on those drone attacks, saying that they are proving the agony of what Russia describes as Kiev regime, saying that the authorities in Ukraine do now understand that they are in the deadlock and there is no way for their further development. We have heard before the Kremlin saying that the Russian air defense systems were working properly and were intercepting those drones. So certainly this is the intensification. Ukraine, for its part, rarely claims responsibility. We're yet to hear the confirmation on their end as well.
Also, Dasha, will the Erdogan-Putin talks in Sochi pave the way for resumption or revival of the Black Sea grain deal?
Well, certainly it is expected that the focus of the discussions will be on the grain deal and how to persuade Russia to get back to the negotiating table and get back to the memorandum that was signed between Russia and the United Nations. Russia has been claiming that its part of the deal has never been honored and has never been implemented. So for Russia, the paramount importance is definitely paid to the issues that are the Russian demands. If they are implemented, then Moscow says it will immediately get back to the Black Sea grain deal. But before the talks between the presidents, we are expecting the Russian foreign minister to meet his Turkish counterpart in Moscow. That might take place in the matter of days, according to the spokesperson for the Russian foreign ministry.
All right. Thank you, Dasha. That was Dasha Chernysheva reporting from Moscow. All right, going back to the top story on DD India News Hour, we're tracking the military coup in Gabon after Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. Now, the Central African country's military says they have seized power. And joining me is my colleague Chris Okamringa from Gabon. Chris, what can you tell us about the how and why of this coup?
Well, senior officers of the Gabon army appeared on national TV saying that they have taken over power and cancelled the results of the elections that happened on Saturday, where the Electoral Commission announced President Ali Bongo as the winner of the election. They said it was fraudulent, so they cancelled it and said that they have also dissolved all the state institutions and shut down the borders of the country until further notice. Those officers say that they have formed a transition committee on the restoration of institutions, and they are going to announce the next course of action. Many people in Gabon, the Gabon capital, Libreville, have taken to the streets to celebrate this announcement. They are saying the election was a sham and that President Ali Bongo has led the country very poorly for very many years. He succeeded his father, who led the country for more than 40 years. And so it's the same family that has been ruling this country. There has been a lot of resentment by the local people there. There's widespread poverty in this country, which is the 5th largest oil producer in Africa. It has a lot of cocoa and other natural resources, but many people are suffering. And so there's a sense of joy among quite a number of people in Gabon about this announcement of the coup. It's still not clear whether all soldiers in Gabon are in support of what the coup leaders announced.
Right.
But if it turns out to be successful, then this will be the 8th coup in West and Central Africa over the past 3 years.
All right,
most of these countries are former French colonies.
That was my colleague Chris Okamringa joining us from Gabon. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Idalia to make landfall in the U.S. state of Florida as extreme Category 4 hurricane. London Mayor Sadiq Khan says clean air is a right, not a privilege, as ultra-low emission zone expands to cover the entire city. And EU defense ministers gather for informal talks in Toledo, Spain.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India.
Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Muy
Nous
India.
sommes land.
Nahnu hunud.
India.
Ma Hindi Hasti.
Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Turning crisis into opportunity. Transforming ideas into action. Stories of real change. Tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DDINDIA.
Shagato to West Bengal, India's cultural epicenter.
You're watching DDINDIA News Hour. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. New Zealand keen on the Indian instant payment system UPI, signs a civil aviation pact with India. After Niger, now the military in the Central African nation of Gabon says it has seized power. And Chandrayaan-3 detects sulphur and traces of other elements on the moon. Hunt on for hydrogen. As a 50-strong delegation of New Zealand business leaders is gathering in New Delhi, earlier I spoke to Michael Fox, delegation lead and chair of the India-New Zealand Business Council. Joining me is Michael Fox, delegation lead and chair of the India-New Zealand Business Council. Michael, what's been the purpose of this visit and how much has it strengthened the ties between India and New Zealand?
Well, the purpose, we have brought New Zealand's largest ever business delegation to India, more than 50 businesses, but I do expect we will see larger ones next year and the year after that because there is such immense interest in India from New Zealand. The reason we are here is because we have seen the immense success that India is having. It is such an incredible growth story, the world's 5th largest economy, soon to be the 3rd, but just also the impact you are having around the world. And New Zealand wants to be here to show that we are a partner, that we can complement your success and to make the case for investing in that relationship. New Zealand has probably traditionally, we're a small country, a long way from everywhere, and we have probably not invested enough in the relationship in previous years, so we are here to fix that. We're here to make the case and we're here to show that how we can partner in India's success.
Now, the New Zealand Minister for Trade, Export and Agriculture, Damien O'Connor, has already met with a number of Indian ministers, including Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. How did those talks go?
Very positively, and it builds on a series of positive engagements. So the Minister has been here several times. We had Minister Jaishankar to New Zealand last year. Our Prime Ministers have met 2 or 3 times in the last few years, as well as other ministerial engagements. And the purpose has been to show that we are here and we are willing to invest. And actually there are areas where we do complement each other. New Zealand has real skills in things like the primary sector, in education and in services, and we can complement what is happening here. And there is really strong recognition of that. And I think we're really encouraged by the response, by the fact that we recognise that we have not come in at an easy time. The world's 19 largest economies are in India at the moment for the G20, and little old New Zealand turns up and says, well, what about us? But everyone has been very gracious with their time, and it's been very, very constructive.
Now, how does New Zealand view the India stack of digital public goods? Is the unified payments interface, for instance, something that might interest New Zealand?
I think in New Zealand we recognise how innovative India is, particularly in this area. We have seen the incredible digitisation of the economy and the populace, and how everyone is on their smartphone, they have every service at their fingertips. I think New Zealand is probably a bit further behind on that. I only got Apple Pay Wave on my phone a couple of years ago, but we certainly don't have the ease of interface with the banks and services that you do. So it's certainly one of the areas that the business community is interested in. And I should say 5% of New Zealand's population now is of Indian origin, and they've come to New Zealand and said, well, we would like these services here. So we do hope to see those sorts of services available more soon.
If I were to ask you to zoom out and look at the Indo-Pacific as a whole, is there scope for collaboration in the wider Indo-Pacific region? I ask you this, maybe in terms of development partnership, because India and New Zealand both are members of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework.
I think, well, firstly, that discussion is really encouraging. Any framework through which we have organised engagement, which allows us to explore those areas that we can work together, is really important, and it's really encouraging that India is there. But I think in general, what New Zealand is good at is partnering with people. We are a small economy, 5 million people, a long way from the world. But the reason that we do partner well with others is because they know that we are fair, we are open, we are transparent, we're easy to do business with, and easy to work with. So I think all of these things work. And if we are looking to develop the Pacific, it is our backyard. It is where we live and work, and we care deeply about making sure that the region succeeds. And absolutely, we would like to partner with India there, and we would like to see more of India in the region.
Great. You spoke about education. Now, education and tourism are key drivers of the India-New Zealand ties. What's in it for, say, the Indian tourist or student? Visa on arrival maybe, or quicker, student visas?
Well, the tourist one is easy. New Zealand is one of the most beautiful countries in the world, I would say. I am biased, admittedly. India is close, but I am biased, as I say. But I think one of the encouraging things is the air services agreement that we've seen signed. We expect to see, hopefully, direct flights to New Zealand within the next few years. And what we know is that a direct flight will see a 50% increase in traffic and people flows between those two countries. We'd certainly like to see more of that, more New Zealanders coming here and more Indians coming to New Zealand, because we know that when people meet, they form relationships, we share understanding, and we find ways to work together. We do recognise, and it's come up on this trip, that there are frustrations with visa settings getting into New Zealand. This has been raised a number of times, and it's something that the business community is supportive of. Ultimately, we recognise that India has an incredibly skilled, innovative population, and we would like to see more in New Zealand. So I think that is one area we will take home to our government and have those discussions about.
Great. And finally, Michael, agriculture and horticulture are also important areas of cooperation, especially the dairy industry. What can be done to boost business-to-business ties between the industries in particular?
Sure. Well, I can give you one example, actually. So I work for a company called Zespri. We are the world's largest marketer of kiwi fruit. India is not a large market for us at the moment, but we would like it to be. But market access is a challenge, and we are working with the government to say, well, we can come in here, we are counter-seasonal to your growers. We can come in here and we can help your growers to grow more fruit, sharing knowledge. We can help your growers to get more of that fruit to market, and by investing to develop the market, we can help build demand and set a price ceiling which supports Indian grower returns. And it's a model that we think that we can roll out across the board, because New Zealand is a world leader in the primary sector, whether it's horticulture or whether it's dairy or whether it's pastoral farming, and we are really willing to come in here and work alongside partners in India to support the industries in India. And I think it is one of those ways where we can genuinely succeed alongside each other. So this is a big focus for us.
Great. On that note, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Hurricane Idalia continues to intensify ahead of its anticipated landfall on Florida's west coast, bringing strong winds, high tides and heavy rains. As the National Guard prepares for rescues, authorities have issued mass evacuations in low-lying areas.
This is the calm before the storm. Hurricane Idalia continues to intensify by drawing energy from the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico before it finally makes landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast. Residents in Florida are preparing for the worst. Many are evacuating their homes and moving to safer locations.
I just feel like no one should probably stay at this point.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is seeking the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, has declared a state of emergency and has urged all residents to move to higher grounds.
So this is crunch time right now. We're going to get hit with a major hurricane, and it is going to have major impacts, particularly along Florida's Big Bend region. Take the appropriate precautions to protect you and your family. And once the storm passes, we will have help that will be on the way.
U.S. President Joe Biden has spoken to the Florida governor and assured all help to deal with the upcoming hurricane.
We're providing everything that he possibly needs. We're in constant contact. There's going to be I think we're worried about the surge, the ocean surge. We're going to make sure they have everything they need. Thank you.
Over 5,500 National Guards have been deployed as a precautionary measure, and thousands of workers from the electricity department have been kept on standby to help restore power quickly after the storm passes. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
London Mayor Sadiq Khan says clean air is a right, not a privilege, as the city's ultra-low emission zone is expanded this week. The scheme has sparked small protests, with opponents saying that it's been introduced too quickly and it disproportionately affects poorer residents. DD India's Julia Chapman reports.
All 32 London boroughs now fall under the ultra-low emission zone, meaning drivers of older, more polluting cars need to pay a charge in order to enter that area. This is a scheme that was first introduced in central London in 2019 in order to bring down pollution levels in the British capital. Since then, it has expanded twice. It now encompasses the entire area of Greater London, but it's not been without its controversy. There are many very vocal opponents to ULEZ, many of whom say that it is simply too quick to be bringing out this expansion of the ULEZ zone. Many as well objecting to the cost, saying this is a time where there are huge cost of living pressures on London residents, and this is simply an inappropriate time to put this additional burden on them. But the London mayor says that 9 out of 10 cars are already ULEZ compliant in the capital, so it will be a relatively low number of people affected. And there are also incentives for those with more polluting, non-compliant cars to scrap those vehicles and buy new ones. Each of them are eligible for around £2,000 or $2,500 in order to do that. Now, some say that's simply not going to be enough for a brand new car, but that is the incentive that is being offered in order to get pollution levels down, which the London Mayor Sadiq Khan says is necessary because there are some 4,000 premature deaths in the capital every year that are directly linked to air pollution. Julia Chapman in London, reporting for DD India.
Now, 2 young Venezuelans are trying to raise awareness about climate change by turning single-use plastics into valuables. In their workshop, they give a second life to products that have been thrown away or abandoned. DD India correspondent Mary Trinimina reports.
One man's trash is another man's treasure, says an old proverb. But here at NEO Workshop in Venezuela, nothing is considered waste. 2 young entrepreneurs came up with the idea of turning single-use plastics into valuables. But first, all bins and bottles must be cleaned, sorted, and categorized.
We're now creating and enjoying the process of seeing materials that are waste and thinking, how can we transform them? How can we take that something that's finished its useful cycle and be able to give it a second life and turning it into an object with more value than it initially had?
4 months ago, they began making flower pots by recycling plastic containers. Each pot is unique and different since the color pattern changes in the production of each piece. 18 years old Luisandro Leon is in charge of feeding the plastic into a shredder, which will break it down into much smaller pieces. The workshop processes plastic type 2 and 5, which are commonly used as food containers and plastic bottles. Then, an injection molding machine helps to melt the plastic and turn it into the final product.
When a person drinks a soft drink, throws that away, and that ruins the environment. Here, what we can do is to take that waste and reuse it to make new things.
In Venezuela, only 5% of the garbage thrown away is recycled, according to unofficial estimates. It is not mandatory for citizens to separate solids, plastic or glass waste at home. NEOS welcomes individual donations and buys recycled plastic as well. Here at the workshop, every bottle cap, plastic container, or even all discarded movies are transformed into a new world full of possibilities. The goal is to create both quality and useful objects. NEO's founders are currently testing new products, including eyeglasses frames made from 100% recycled materials. All products are sold online. The idea is to expand to a clothing and footwear line in the coming months.
In many places, we have seen the impact of pollution with images of garbage islands floating in the oceans. But with these projects, we can directly or indirectly attack these types of issues.
A sustainable and environmentally friendly business that hopes to make a profit, but also help the planet. In Caracas, Maritrini Mena reporting for DDINDIA.
Next week, political leaders are gathering in India's capital, New Delhi, for the annual G20 summit. As India draws global attention for the first ever G20 summit to be held in South Asia, a new survey finds that views of India are generally positive across 23 countries. Nearly half of the adult population hold a favorable view of India, while just over a third have an unfavorable view. In comparison, there were mixed reviews of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi from 12 countries. Just over a third of those asked said they have confidence in Modi, while some said they lacked confidence in him. Now take a look at some other stories making news around India. The number of passengers travelling on the Delhi Metro in a day has reached an all-time high. The Delhi Metro Rail Corporation recorded its highest ever count of daily passenger journeys on Tuesday. At 6.8 million passenger journeys, the daily metro passenger rides surpassed the pre-COVID-19 figures. The trial run of 6 e-buses procured under the Smart City project kicked off in Jammu and Kashmir's Srinagar. During the trial, buses started from Srinagar's Lal Chowk to Nishat and returned via Foreshore Road. These vehicles have been equipped with numerous amenities like air conditioners, CCTV cameras and lifts for the differently abled. The flood situation in India's northeastern state of Assam continues to be grim. According to Assam's State Disaster Management Authority, more than 300,000 people have been displaced, while the Brahmaputra River continues to flow above the danger mark. According to India's Meteorological Department, heavy rainfall is likely to continue till 1st September. Girls and women in Jammu and Kashmir are celebrating the Indian festival of Raksha Bandhan by tying a sacred thread known as Rakhi on the wrist of soldiers guarding India's borders. The Hindu festival of Raksha Bandhan is being celebrated across the country on Wednesday. The festival of Raksha Bandhan was celebrated at Rashtrapati Bhavan, the official residence of the President of India in New Delhi. President Draupadi Murmu got Rakhis tied on her wrist by school children. Rakhi was also celebrated in the residence of the Prime Minister of India. Still to come on DDINDIA News Hour. The 2023 Asia Cup is about to kick off with a clash between Pakistan and Nepal. And the 80th Venice Film Festival is set to begin on Wednesday. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. And now to all the news from the world of sport with Anil Thomas. Anil, over to you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Well, a quick look at all the big stories there. Ramesh mentioned about Asia Cup, and that's the top story that we're looking at in cricket. Asia Cup, it can be called the Copa America of cricket. The Cricket Asia Cup 2023 is set to kick off today with a clash between Pakistan and Nepal. The tournament will be co-hosted by Pakistan and Sri Lanka. The Asia Cup 2023 sees Pakistan and Nepal placed in Group A alongside India. It's a high-stakes scenario with one of the team's journeys ending after the initial round. On to Flushing Meadows, the fourth and final Grand Slam tournament of the year. US Open enters into second round. Two-time US Open champion Venus Williams suffered her most lopsided loss in 24 appearances at a Grand Slam tournament with a 6-1, 6-1 defeat at the hands of qualifier Greet Menen in the first round. The German smacked 24 winners and saved all 6 break points she faced to dispatch the veteran American, who she reversed. Former US Open champion Andy Murray earned his 200th major win when he overcame Frenchman Courtien Mawot 6-2, 7-5, 6-3 to reach the second round in New York. He is the 8th man in the Open era to hit this number. Hubert Hurkacz overcame Marc-André Hussler 4-6, 5-7, 7-6, 6-3, 6-1. Hubert will play Jack Draper in the next round. That's all in sports. Back to Ramesh for more updates.
Thank you, Anil. Now, the world's oldest film festival opens on Wednesday amidst anticipation of a no-show because of an ongoing Hollywood actors' strike. As the festival marks its 80th anniversary, many debutant directors will compete for the prestigious Golden Lion Award. The event will conclude on 9th September. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.